for the first semester, I didn't want to eat any Indian food because I didn't want any resemblance of home. I think all of us have different kinds of insecurities. I think the fun of the process of growing up is dealing with each of those insecurities
Yeah.
and proving to yourself that you are bigger than those insecurities. You need to have that level of audacity, that level of arrogance to say, I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to do it. The world is going to figure out how it's going to happen. Firstly, hello guys. It is a pleasure to be here. Vish is a lovely person to know, and it's an honor to be on his podcast. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Mahek Parvez. I'm a computer engineering student at Purdue University, and I have so far ventured out into multiple different paths, including like the content creation side of me. Apart from that, I'm also a eco-innovator who's been awarded by Lexis on an international level, and I have raised money to build a product that helps people cool spaces without electricity. This apart, I'm also a national level karate champion, a national level golfer, international level violinist, and a state level Silambatam player. Silambatam in general is a stick fighting art that's specific to India. But this is a little bit about me. In terms of excellence, I think a lot of different aspects of my life have required different kinds of excellence. But I think the one tying trait, I think, is a certain level of super high focus coupled with a unreasonable amount of confidence. I
Okay.
say unreasonable because a lot of the times you really don't know what you can achieve until you actually achieve it or are in the process of achieving it. So I think excellence for me is being hyper focused on one specific thing at a given moment, even as you're balancing five different things, which is what I grew up doing. Um, and also back yourself up with a gazillion tons of confidence.
Okay, and with all the things that you've mentioned so far in terms of achievements and awards that you've received, where do you think you were able to embody this the most? Like, or also where you are kind of surprised that you were able to embody this enough? Because I think I really agree with that idea of delusion. I
Mm-hmm.
think like even with, or honestly, any entrepreneur, anyone that's doing something difficult has to have a certain level of delusion
Mm-hmm.
to really get started and then think that, okay, yeah, maybe I can become the best.
Mm-hmm.
But with all the things that you've done, where do you think had that feeling the most?
I don't think I've had the feeling of confidence or such high delusion in
Hmm.
like the first phases of just about anything.
Okay.
I think it basically comes in when you're sort of 3, 4 years into whatever you're doing. So I feel with all of my extracurriculars, which I grew up doing, I built confidence brick by brick.
Hmm.
For me, my mom kept saying this when I was growing up, but everyone was playing a 100% game when they were just trying to score in exams. But for me, it was like I had multiple different things I needed to score like 100% in. Meaning that for me, my game was a 400% game if I was doing four different activities alongside my books. So for me, it came down to hey, like in this specific activity, how am I performing in the given moment? And how is it adding up to like building that 100% and moving higher up on that ladder? But I don't think it was it's like a thing that you know before you're like 3, 4 years into something, specifically when you're doing sports or you're trying to do something new. I think a lot of the times the confidence comes from repetition more than anything. And when you have enough reps in and you start to feel like you like the game, I think the confidence comes as is. Simply because you learn to know what you prefer and what you don't.
Hmm.
And you learn to play your wins and, work on the things that you lose on the way.
I see. Okay. And with one thing that really stuck out to me was like you doing all these things while also doing school in India, because at least for me, from what I've experienced from Indian schooling,
Mm-hmm.
it's totally different from like what people do in the US. Like usually, okay, homework in the US is like maybe an hour or two of your time. And like
Mm-hmm.
most people don't go and study every day, but at least seeing some of my cousins in India, and
Mm-hmm.
honestly, from I have a lot of international students who are friends here or
Mm-hmm.
that are like friends of mine here.
Mm-hmm.
And for them it seemed like it was almost their life. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was like everything
Yeah.
was put towards studies. Like how were you able to balance that at that period in time? And was there ever any conflict between even like your parents where they're like, you're really not putting that much time into studies right now.
Uh-huh. Okay, I think I have to say that I am among the luckiest people on this planet.
Yeah.
That my parents actually insisted that I do other stuff than studying.
Very valid. Yeah.
So I spent basically all of my childhood juggling between 8 different classes, meaning that I did 8 different activities and I had 2 classes a week for each activity.
Okay.
So just about every evening after school, I would have my first class. I would go straight from school to my first class, and right after my first class to my second class. So much so that my mom would have like snacks packed for me because I would come back home only around like 9, 10 p.m. Having like left home at 7 a.m. So this was a regular thing for me. And I think studying started to get serious when I reached like ninth grade.
Mhm.
And India has like a board exam system where
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you have ninth and you have 12th.
Heard quite a lot
I
about
mean,
this.
10th and you have 12th.
Yeah.
And both these exams are basically the highest form of reputation drop if you do badly.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think more than anything, I think one thing my parents did really well was they put me into a competitive coaching program, which is called FITGI. It stands for like IIT training.
Mhm.
And IIT for anyone who doesn't have context, is a examination that helps you get into Indian Institute of Technology. There are a few in each state. I think one in each state. But or actually they're expanding more than one in each state.
Yeah.
But these entrance exams are basically as hard or harder than for example,
Like SATs or
yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
yeah. No, I mean it's definitely harder than the SATs. There's no doubt on that.
Yeah.
The acceptance levels are probably lower than that of getting into like Harvard.
Oh yeah. With the IITs, yeah, it's way harder than most of the IVs
Yeah.
or all of the IVs in the US.
Correct. But basically, it's a intensive program that teaches you everything that you need to know, straight from like maths to science to just about anything that they test specifically, mostly STEM subjects. And for me, I think the toughest part of the balancing came in when I like got into ninth grade.
Mhm.
Until eighth grade, I had basically free will on exactly how much time I spent studying. I was also very lucky to go to Montessori schools and study in the Cambridge system until ninth grade because
And
like
what are the Cambridge systems?
so Montessori is basically a system. The two systems that I was mentioning are Montessori and Cambridge.
Yeah.
Montessori is like until sixth grade, I did not have any exams.
Oh, okay.
So I was not given any exams, no tests, nothing. And all of my teachers would teach me in school, and everything would be limited to school. And they would teach us with like objects and different activities and all of that. So growing up, I had like a very rich imagination simply because like my teachers taught me with objects and I could see everything that was going on. Um, Having said that, after sixth grade, I moved to the Cambridge system, which is IGCSE. And in IGCSE, we basically had a lot more like visualization, we had contextualized questions, all of that. In ninth grade was basically the biggest shift of my life simply because I moved to CBSE, which was a very different system than IGCSE. CBSE is native to India, and like CBSE has a very different learning pattern than IGCSE. But I also coupled that difference with also the FITGI system, which was a level higher than CBSE. So I think I jumped 2 levels in ninth grade, which sort of built my character simply because I was struggling to put all of these things together. But I had spent so many years mastering things that I was not good at
Mm-hmm.
that nobody could stop me from being good at these things that I found so strangely difficult.
Okay.
And I think that was a very big like confidence drilling experience for me. Even though it was among the hardest phases of my life, I would 100% recommend anyone to take a leap like this because I think I happen to meet the most smart people in my life, the most lovely friends that I have, people that I actually am inspired by to this day because of those systems. Because everyone there was striving towards something that they were not naturally good at, but wanted and were hungry to get good at. So
I see. Okay. And this was all for studying for like the IIT entrance exams?
yes, which I somehow did not end up giving.
Yeah.
I didn't end up writing IIT JEE, but
Oh,
that was That was
But
honestly
how did that happen?
okay. So I decided to do Fiji in ninth, which
Okay.
was a little pre-early for people.
Yeah.
But my whole goal for Fiji was that I wanted to enrich my brain. And frankly, two of my friends were writing that exam, and those two people were the smartest people in my class.
Hmm.
So I decided that I wanted to be smart too, and so I decided to write that exam. And the first time I failed the exam, and then I felt so bad about failing that the next time I studied for 6 months and went back to write that exam, and I got that seat with a 70% scholarship.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so I like for me it was a certain level of competitive spirit and knowing that if someone else could do it, I could do it too.
Yeah.
And specifically, like the two smartest people in my class could do it. So I
Why can't
mean,
you?
yeah, I mean, I honestly this is where I think the audacity and delusion part comes in. Simply because I was probably on like the bottom 10 of my class out of like 30 people. I was around the bottom 10, and those two would like fight for first place. But I did end up clearing the same exam that they did with a scholarship. So, I mean, for me, it was like, okay, if I can do that, then what can I not do?
And I'm curious, with this period of time in your life where I assume studies took the
Mm-hmm.
number one priority,
Mm-hmm.
how did your experiences with golf, karate, violin,
Mm-hmm.
all those, how did did a competitive nature from those sports like come into play with studying? And like,
Mm-hmm.
how did it change your approach in trying to go and like have a comparable result with these two people that
Mm-hmm.
were supposedly the smartest people in the class?
Frankly, they were the smartest people I knew.
Yeah.
But having said that, I think okay. So I continued playing the violin throughout Fiji as well. I was hellbound on finishing the eighth grade
Mhm.
in the Trinity College London syllabus, and eighth grade for context is the highest grade that you get, and beyond that you basically have a diploma in practical playing, so classical music. Having said that, I think I'd played golf and I'd like done karate for so long that it had basically instilled principles that I could not shake out of my being.
Mhm.
Um, I think to start to explain, golf is a sport that requires an intense level of balance and an intense level of patience because you should be able to mentally control your mind to be able to do anything in golf. Starting with, let's say you mess up one shot, you're very likely to spiral into a whole, a series of bad shots
Yeah.
simply because of the placement of your shot. Let's say you're like under a tree and you're probably like only 5 yards from exactly where you started. You could have hit a really bad first shot, but golf teaches you that you sort of have a way to come back every time you're off guard. And even in the worst situations, let's say you're like right next to the water and you have to somehow pitch your ball out,
Mhm.
there is still a chance to do really well. And if you don't control your mind at that point and teach yourself that, hey, out of habit, I know that I can deal with this and I can get better from this. And the next hole can be very different from the first one. I think that mentality in general is something that I carry with me to this day, and I carried through the time that I spent in Fiji, after Fiji, when I came to college, all of these things. Karate specifically made me very strong and very competitive mentally because I hate losing and I cannot tolerate losing if I haven't trained well enough. So for me, it gave me a sort of reason and a metric on how prepared I need to be to be a winner. And for me, I think that was the most mentally important thing for me. So I think when I came into Fiji, I knew that I wasn't the best in the class. I probably started at like the most bottom part of like my class in terms of rank. There were 50 people in my class, and I probably started like below 40.
Yeah.
So I think rising up that game required a certain level of diligence, a high level of mental clarity, and a level of persistence that violin can teach just about anyone. I
Yeah.
think playing the same thing 50 times a day for a solid 3 months can teach you exactly what is good and what is bad and how many reps it takes to get good and terribly good at something.
Yeah.
Specifically when you're playing out of intuition, but also playing the game of simple level of like precision. Because like golf could teach me exactly how to think. Karate could train me to be able to execute the way I want to, but the clarity with which I approach things was um, very highly driven by the violin, simply because it teaches you to be that precise, simply because you can physically hear it. And when you're bad at playing the violin, it's pretty clear to just about anyone, even if they don't know how it like
No,
how bass
yeah.
sounds.
I actually played the
Yeah.
violin as well for
Mhm.
almost a decade. And
Mhm.
I think that principle of whether it's just like playing scales and you like
Mhm.
are perfecting a scale,
Yeah.
you like hear every note, you hear every like you hear those small little changes that like from whether it's just like your finger moving a millimeter. And I think at least for me, that's also played a role in content as well, where it's like you notice these small things that you think don't matter, but like can completely change how someone views your video. And I think
Right.
that that's the same thing for sports, like almost anything. That attention to detail
Yeah.
is like so important, and I think it also like helps with those iterations for pretty much anything, kind of like what you were saying.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm curious about, I think in India there are a lot of things that you got from the vast uh, spread of sports training for I'm calling it training even though it's for an exam. Like I think
Mhm.
that concept of doing that much work for an exam is just not, it doesn't exist in the US.
Uh-huh.
And like that's why I say the word training. And all these different things, like how did that play a role when you finally came to college in the US? Because I feel
Mm.
like people really underestimate how difficult it is to come to the US as an international student.
Mhm.
I'm seeing it with some of my family members who came here and just like really struggled their
Mhm.
first semester with like trying to fit in, understanding the culture here, just like being what halfway across the world, they can't see their
Mhm.
family at will. All these different things. Like, how did those things help your transition here?
Okay. Um, I think that's a big question,
Yeah,
but I think I'm gonna start with the fact that I think for a very long time I ignored that things were hard.
yeah, yeah.
I tend to do that quite a bit. When I feel things are hard, I'm in extreme denial and I just say, no, no, it's not hard. I can do it. This is like simple. This is obviously normal. For the first semester, I didn't want to eat any Indian food because I didn't want any resemblance of home.
Okay.
So I would like actively avoid Indian food and kind of try like different kinds of food in the dining court that were non-Indian because I was honestly in denial of the fact that I was missing home.
Mhm,
I know that sounds funny, but it helped quite a bit. Um, I think with a lot of with with all of these different sports and stuff, I think the biggest anchoring factor was my parents.
mhm,
Simply because with all of my wins and losses, I had my parents both tell me two different kinds of things, and I think that more than anything shaped the way I viewed the world and viewed loss and viewed gain and viewed wins in general like shortcomings. And I think when I moved to the US, a lot of that training kind of stuck by me. So although I was like in denial of the fact that I missed home and like I missed being in India, I think that change was very strongly backed by tiny things. For example, like there was one time that I was so scared of the stage and so scared to perform.
mhm.
On stage, I was probably like 5 or 6 years old, and my mom had joined me for a recital, and I literally just ran off the stage. But as soon as I ran off, like I went and I wept to my mom, and she said encouraging things, but she also gave me a certain level of strength. Where she said, you've done this 70 times, you've played this song 70 times. Why is it that, you know, you don't believe in the fact that everyone out there is wanting to listen to your 71st time? So I think things like that, my parents always certainly included a certain level of preparedness. They wanted to prepare me for the worst. And so they always tried to make me a lot more independent than I was.
Mhm.
And I think that coming to the US showed me that I was lucky to have the parents that I did.
Okay.
Because they played a very big role in me understanding that I have the capability to handle just about anything. There were times like I don't think I had taken one solo flight until the first time I did it in the US. I was flying from Chicago to California,
Mhm.
and I had never been to the airport alone. I just did not know what that felt like.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and like I always had my parents come with me or my sister be there with me. I lived in a very protected, very safe environment. But when I was thrown into the world, I think I was trained with the best principles possible to tackle just about anything.
Hmm.
Being the golfer, the violinist, the karate champion, like they helped because they framed the way I tackled situations. But thanks to the people in my life that showed me what good tackling is versus bad tackling, I think moving to the US was relatively easy. Like I I think relatively it was easy. I wouldn't say it was the easiest thing possible because there is a culture difference, but you only realize that when you don't get the food that you want, you don't have, your friends respond to you the way that you're used to being responded to.
Hmm.
When you have a whole different set of people that you have no connection to, and you don't know how they've grown up. Because in India, relatively, you have like a sort of idea. Economically, you're in like a school that has mostly similar background. You're learning the same stuff. You have been with a certain set of people your whole life. Because in India, also, you don't have like elective systems, so you don't really take different classes. Your classmates are going to be the same for all your classes. So you tend to like have bonds with people, and the more you are involved with your classroom, the more you start to understand what someone is like. But I think uprooting from India and coming to the US was hard, probably on that level, where I did not really know exactly what someone else's expectation of friendship was, or how they'd been, taught different things, what they were exposed to growing up. Because at Purdue, you can't guess on like where your friend is from. They might be from Korea and have like the
Yeah.
exact same background.
Like everyone here is from like everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and like maybe like even if I compare your childhood to mine, it's going to
Hmm.
be very different from what like my childhood was or someone else's
No,
childhood was.
100%. Yeah.
So I think the shaping of that was, I think, a fun factor to tackle, like coming to the US.
Okay, so with your decision of coming to Purdue, what played into that? Because you talked about how you were doing these exams and practice for the IIT entrance
Mm,
exams. And then also, I mean, there's plenty of different schools in the US. Like there's plenty of good engineering schools.
mm,
Why Purdue specifically? Did it have anything to do with like, I know you mentioned that you did some research before coming to college. Did any of that play a role?
mhm. Yeah, so doing research before college was probably the best thing that I could have done in terms of directing me to exactly what I wanted to do. It gave me a head start in understanding what I liked and what I didn't like, which is a
Yeah.
very big aspect choosing the colleges that you want to be at. In terms of choosing Purdue specifically, I think I think I'd like to start at my research specifically at IIT Madras, because that sort of played into the decision. So at IITM, I did thermodynamics research and specifically in the area of passive cooling.
Mhm.
This was basically research that allowed me to make my system, which is the sun harvested cool rooms, which is what my product is called, um, to make it more efficient. So, what I was trying to do at that stage was take the data that I had from the structures that we had built, meaning we had tested a pilot product of the sun harvested cool rooms.
Mhm.
So, the data I was getting back from there, I wanted to analyze it and go back to the principles to change the dimensions of the structure to be able to understand, okay, how can I make this more efficient? How can I use CAD? How can I use FEA analysis to make this better and to optimize the system? So that was why I was in IIT Madras, and this I wanted to carry on. So when I was looking at Purdue, what struck out to me were three different things. First, on a academic level, I saw that in terms of the research at Purdue, they had a very strong mechanical engineering department, which had a good focus on thermodynamics as well. Purdue also has a great electrical engineering department, and apart from that, it has a agriculture department, which is very closely related to the product that I was designing because it was meant for farmers
Mhm.
and on-farm storage of produce. Um, so the fact that they had three different departments and such, well-connected departments where they
Yeah.
were doing research across the departments was a very important factor for me. This is something that I could not find very easily in India.
It seems like kind of like plays exactly into what you were doing
Yeah,
in IIT Madras.
yes. So in IITM, the thing is that in most Indian colleges, you don't really have too much of inter-department collaboration,
Yeah,
meaning that
yeah.
there is a certain level of it. But I think in terms of projects, in the US, a lot of people come together from different departments. And the fact that Purdue had all of these three departments made sure that the principles I was working with, the product I was trying to create, and the principles that I wanted to bring into the automation that I wanted to bring in to the cool rooms was all available in Purdue University specifically. And stuff like computer vision, which is done at the Viper Lab and multiple other labs, those were resources that I could not find in too many places, all concentrated in one place. And Purdue has its own farmlands. It has a agricultural community right around Purdue. So I think for my product specifically, this was the perfect university to be at because it gave me the chance to take all of the stuff that I had already done and amplify it to a greater level at Purdue. So
Okay, and
yeah.
I didn't actually know that you did like this much
Mm-hmm.
research before coming to Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a bit more curious about like, what got you into that specifically in terms of like
Mm-hmm.
most people are very hesitant to even take a 1 year
Mm-hmm.
gap between
Mm-hmm.
like high school and going into undergrad.
Yeah.
What made you feel so strongly about this research and this opportunity that you're like, okay, 2 years, that's fine. This is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. So as soon as I finished school, I wasn't really sure about what I wanted to do. I knew that I did not fit into the perfect cookie cutter mold of engineering.
Yeah, as do all of us
Yeah.
feel at some point in time.
A lot of us, I think, uh, we succumb to the fact that the world has a finite number of options, but that
Hmm.
I think is untrue.
Yeah.
And I don't think anything could show me better than actually doing research after school. I
Okay.
was a little clueless about what I wanted to do because I was good at design. I enjoyed the process of creating things, but I didn't really know if engineering was for me, um, specifically in the Indian system, because it's very different from the system here.
Mhm.
And the research focus and the project focus and the builder focus is a lot higher in the US, which
Yeah.
is what I think drew me to apply to the US as is. So
Okay, that makes sense.
I think because I wanted a strong focus on research, I wanted to build things, I wanted to design things, and I wanted to create things from scratch. I think the infrastructure in the US also really supported my decision
Hmm.
because the labs that we have here at Purdue, I think I've been to at least five labs, and all of them are the most highly equipped labs I have ever laid eyes on. Straight from like designing stuff to building prototypes in wood, in metal, in I don't know, carbon fiber, graphite. You can do all of that in a university, which is unheard of in India.
Yeah.
And so I think that in general was a very big factor for me to know that, hey, maybe I should look to universities abroad. Having said that, the first year, honestly, I was pretty scared because I didn't really know what I wanted from my life. And so for that reason, I decided to pause and find out what I wanted from my life. And I did not want to get into the rat race without knowing exactly what I wanted from the rat race. So
Fair.
if I
Fair.
was getting into it, I wanted to be very, very cognizant and eyes wide open. So doing 1 year of research was a little bit of like freedom to think about what exactly I wanted to do. That's when I had built the prototype for the Sun Harvested Cool Rooms. And when we were like doing this, the prototyping phase as is taught me a lot because straight from like the construction of the entire thing to speaking to contractors and having it built and doing all of these different things to make it happen and put it together as a structure was a huge learning curve. But that also taught me parts and pieces of a process to build something and build it to a pilot level. So I think after doing that, I think I had a certain higher level of like understanding of, hey, like, do I like this?
Mhm.
And to me, it was fun. So I started to get into the point where I was doing a lot of data analysis because I had built the product and I had like attached sensors and stuff. So all the data that was coming in needed to be analyzed. So I turned to IITM, which was the closest university to my home. And
Convenient.
yes, it just so happened that luck played its part, and because it was so close, I had the opportunity to literally walk 15 minutes to IITM.
Yeah.
And I was lucky to be welcomed by Professor Reddy, and I was given access to anything in his lab and the chance to pick at his PhD's brains.
Hmm.
So for the next 1 year, my whole mission was that I needed to gain as much knowledge as possible. Already entering my gap years, I knew that I had to work 3 times as harder as everyone else who was in a conventional school system.
Yeah.
Because if I had to do something, then it had to be worth it. The
For
gap year
those
had
two
to be
years. Yeah.
the gap year had to be worth it.
100%.
So
That
for
makes
me,
sense.
like 1 year of doing research taught me basically half a PhD because I had 3 PhDs mentoring me. And
Yeah.
when you have 3 PhDs, basically triple your age,
Sounds kind of terrifying.
it's terrifying, yes, but it's educating very, very deeply. You know, like it's a
Okay, yeah.
deeply educating process because you start to learn the way they think and they ideate and they consume information, which is very different from what the schooling system can ever teach you. So I think that aspect of it really helped me gain a certain level of very deep conceptual knowledge, which I think I was losing along the way while I was like creating all of this, I was building it. But I think that brought me back to the basics of like, what do I want to learn and how do I want to learn it? So I think that rewired my entire learning process. So when I came to the US, I feel like I was a lot more prepared because I took 2 years off
Yeah.
and I learned to think from first principles instead of like all of the other principles that were given to me and like the stuff that I was learning in school. I was given textbooks and asked to understand those textbooks and work with the understanding of those textbooks. And I think that was it was an experience that shows you exactly what being pushed into the ocean means. Like you're pushed into an ocean of knowledge and you decide what you want to do with that knowledge. So coming into university, I think that prepared me to know what I wanted from here. And when I chose Purdue because, there were these 3 different parts that I wanted to bring together. But as soon as I entered, I knew which labs I wanted to be at, which communities I wanted to be a part of, what I wanted to learn, which classes were interesting, what I wanted to take to broaden my knowledge, and exactly how much of this I was taking back to my projects and the things I was building.
I see. Okay. And I think with the jump that you took
Hmm.
in high school, like going into just saying like, okay, I kind of want to take my learning into my own hands
Hmm.
is like very similar to the jump that I think like most entrepreneurs or business owners take, where they're like,
Yeah.
okay, like, I see this problem. Why don't I just go and solve it? Or like, why don't I just go work on it and like learn
Yeah.
from it? And I think honestly, like, this is something that I've just noticed from my friends who do research that are PhDs. Like, I think
Yeah.
research in general is just like underrated, especially as
Yes.
like an undergrad.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much to learn. And I think, I don't know if this is a thing in India, but I know for kids in the US that are going to undergrad here, you can just go and like kind of like just like ask your professor, be like, hey, are you working on anything? And just be like, yeah, can
Yeah.
I work on it with you? And
Yeah.
like there's a non-zero chance they say yes. They don't
Yeah.
always go and like agree with it,
Mhm.
but then I just don't think people take take that opportunity enough.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if that's something you're doing now with like going and working in research here, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a very valid thing.
So, okay, I would say just about anywhere, anyone's willing to help you if you have some level of direction and you
Yeah,
know where you want to go.
yeah.
If you have some level of direction just about like who you are and where you want to get, I think a lot of people are willing to take a risk because it's a very small price to pay in the longer scale of things for them. And specifically, like for example, with Professor Reddy, he didn't know me, I didn't know him.
Hmm.
He didn't have anything to do with me, but I wrote to probably like a bunch of professors when I was an 18-year-old, and like I had nothing to lose. So I mean, it couldn't hurt for me
To
to,
go and try that.
yeah. So then I wrote to him, and actually, to be fair, I went into IITM for a competition,
Okay.
which I won. And I happened to network with the professors who were the judges
Hmm.
there. And although they were in like different departments, like the civil department, the design department, and the electrical engineering department, they could still point me to people who were close to the field of study that I was looking to get into.
Hmm.
After they pointed me to these people, I made sure to do my own due diligence of understanding, okay, which professors are working in this area, what are they trying to do, how can my project relate to what they are already doing, and
Hmm.
how can I draw this bridge in my skills and what they are doing to be able to show them that it would be a good thing to have me on board or supporting me would not, waste their time.
Yeah.
So I think the same principles apply in the US. Everybody is working towards something, everybody wants people to be part of it. And I don't think it's as hard as people say it is. Because if all of us can just, even if someone rejects you, I mean, if they reject you, there are only two options. Either they don't respond to you, or they tell you exactly why they rejected you. So
And that second one's pretty helpful, and then now you can just go do it again.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So even when they don't respond to you, like three reminders can do it. I don't think there's one person who hasn't responded to me in three reminders.
Hmm.
And I think after that it becomes annoying. Maybe you should get the hint and say, okay, maybe I should do something better. If
Yeah.
you can get any response and good feedback from them, nothing is better than
You don't
that.
lose anything. Yeah.
But you have nothing to lose to
Yeah.
begin with.
Yeah.
So I think honestly, this semester more than ever has taught me that you should just do the things that you want to do, because what in the world could you lose?
That is actually the same. This dialogue you just said was the same thing going through my mind when I started making content this semester.
Uh-huh.
And I think like now hearing all these things, it really makes a lot of sense
Mhm.
why you went and started content, not only with
Yeah.
the personality that you have, but then also all these past experiences.
Uh-huh.
It makes sense to me, but then I mean I have my own sort of imagination as to like why you went and started
Uh-huh.
making content
Yeah.
once you got to the US.
Mhm.
You're in your freshman year. But yeah, I mean, I guess to confirm my assumptions, what was that like? Okay, this content thing seems kind of cool. Let me just go and try it. What was your incentive for taking that jump?
Okay, so I know this sounds like I'm an absolute oldie, but
Yeah,
at that point, content wasn't really cool.
yeah,
It was just content. Like I don't even think I looked at it as content.
yeah,
For me, it was just like I was making videos.
yeah.
And all I wanted to know was, do I like making videos? I wanted to see a process from start to finish, and the
Okay,
easiest way to do that was to make videos.
okay.
Because if something was in my head, I could make the video and I could see the result, and if it wasn't good, I could make it again. So for me, it was
Very valid.
it's the
Yeah,
easiest
very
process
valid.
of like starting and finishing.
Yeah,
And I was just like, oh, if I can like think something, I can make it, like that would be insane.
pretty nice. Yeah.
Right? So then I was like, oh, like the return response rate was so high for making videos that I just like really thought of it as like a cool outlet for me.
Hmm.
And I've always been a very social child. I love speaking to people. I love helping people. That was always my personality growing up. And for me, it was just like I was coming to college. I knew nobody, I had nothing to lose. And this just felt like a very fulfilling process of like starting and finishing straight from my brain to something that I could see.
Hmm.
And I think I iterated on like what I was speaking about or what I was filming and like how I was filming it. But eventually I came to a stage where I sort of started enjoying the process.
Yeah.
And for my first 10 videos, I switched off all the comments because I wanted to see if I enjoyed the process
Yeah.
versus if
Valid.
someone else enjoyed the process. So when I did it and I enjoyed it, I just decided I liked it. So I stuck to it.
That's actually, I resonate with that very
Yeah.
heavily. Like, I think one thing that, okay, this is gonna sound kind of like, I'm not stupid, but like, I really hate the word influencer.
Oh
Like,
yes.
yeah,
Oh, I can fully resonate with that. I don't think that either of us does it for a certain level of
yeah,
influence.
because like, I really resonate with like, I'm just here to make some videos. Like, I
Yeah.
I like the idea of like, okay, I have this digital journal
Yeah.
that like I can just speak what I think and like just like share it with some people, and some people
Mhm.
actually take some inspiration from it,
Yeah.
and like they like actually enjoy it, and that's cool. But
Yeah.
like I don't really care if I could be totally faceless
Uh,
and no one saw like, oh, who's the guy behind all this, I'd be totally fine with that. Like I just wouldn't
yeah.
care. Like it's just a nice way to just share what you think. But I think a lot of times now people will look at it as like, oh, like some sort of like vain light where it's like, oh, this guy's just making videos to go be like some famous guy, and like
Yeah.
he doesn't actually care about it. And I see this happen with other influencers, like even like Mr. Beast, for example. Like he just like, okay, I have this money, I'm gonna go give it to like some like people that need to go buy groceries, and then
Yeah.
everybody starts shitting on him for it. It's like, okay, like why are you doing all this? And
Yeah.
I guess my question to you is like,
Mhm.
have you ever had those feelings of like, oh, okay, like these people are kind of misconstruing why I'm doing this and
Yeah.
just like making fun of me for some reason? And like, how did you deal
Mm.
with any of those like comments or things like that?
I think growing up the way I grew up sort of gave me an edge. I
Hmm.
changed schools quite often
Yeah.
in when I was growing up. So I barely had friends I fully, truly like genuinely opened up to.
Yeah.
So I barely had anyone who could like look at me and make me feel bad, you
Okay.
know?
Fair.
And so after a point, like I was just like, who's gonna make fun of me? And if they're gonna make fun of me, they're probably not gonna make fun of me to my face because I look at them and say, what's your problem?
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that. If someone makes fun of me, I'll just be like, okay, why don't you make these
Go
videos?
make videos yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you have a problem with what I'm saying, then either make a valid point that I can digest, and like that is a, if you're speaking sense, I'm going to listen to you.
Hmm.
But if you have random comments for me on like basically being envious, which is mostly the way people tend to,
View or like comment on
yes,
negatively. Yeah.
yeah. So like if it's that, I mean, I really have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I'm just gonna look at you and say, shut up.
Yeah.
So after a point, nobody had I don't think I ever like registered anyone's critique of me posting online.
Hmm.
So I just did what I wanted to do and they just did whatever they wanted to do. So in terms of hate, like I don't think I took that seriously.
That's fair. I think
Mm.
one other thing with content, I think like I know you talked a lot about how karate gave you like a certain level of discipline, golf gave you, or violin specifically, one thing that really resonated with is like attention to detail.
Yeah.
Then golf gives you patience,
Yeah.
all these different things. And then they played a role for how you approach your studies. But then one thing for me was that like I played badminton nationally. I also played
Mm-hmm.
violin.
Mm-hmm.
And I think badminton taught me a lot with like consistency and discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And violin also taught me the same thing of attention to detail.
Yeah.
And those played a huge like the lessons I took from both of those activities really played a role in content because
Yeah.
it's like at least for me it's like I'm someone that really likes just like I'm just gonna do the rep every day
Yes.
and that's what's kept me consistent with content
Yeah.
and also even but then I think if that's coupled with attention to detail and you try and improve something each time that can really be a powerful combo.
Yes.
But all this is not just to talk myself up or something like that. I'm curious how, like, even research and like all the other things you did while you were in India played a role into how you made content.
Mm.
Was there any sort of correlation or was content just its own thing?
Honestly, I think that the correlation, I see the correlation looking back, but when I was doing it, I don't think I
You just didn't
acted it on.
register?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I was just like, hey, like, what do people want to know from me?
Hmm.
How can I help someone else? And when I was coming to Purdue, I realized there's barely any YouTube videos, barely any information on
That's very true.
Instagram. Like Purdue doesn't have too much of like guidance from a student point of view
Hmm.
for anyone who's coming in. And there are so many resources at Purdue to use, but a lot of times people just don't know
Don't
about.
know. Yeah, like
Yeah.
even this studio, I only found about this like my last week here.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think there's so
Yeah.
many things that Purdue offers that just like fly past
Right?
people's heads. They don't even
Yeah.
use it.
I think my like after a certain point, for me, it was like, hey, like someone, if I were to come in this year, would
Hmm.
my videos be helpful to them?
Yeah.
So I think at a certain point, I really wanted to make sure that I was building the community that I did not have,
Hmm.
and a certain level of information base for anyone coming in who needed help, who needed some level of guidance. So for a very for like probably like 8 months of my content journey, like I spoke very strongly about these things. But then I started to realize that after some point, I had exhausted the amount of information I could give because I was very particular about not repeating any of my information in any two different reels.
Okay.
And I wanted to be sure that every time I was putting out a reel, I was providing a different kind of value that I hadn't provided earlier. So for me, from that standpoint, I wanted to sort of graduate from there. Having said that, at some stage, I probably will make a specific YouTube channel just for Purdue students so
Hmm.
that anyone coming in has some reference. I possibly like use this room
Yeah.
to film.
Just go and record some videos.
Yeah, just so that anyone who's coming in isn't as clueless as I was
Hmm.
and is a little more informed on the beautiful like aspects of Purdue. And that I think is something that I will possibly do in the near future. But I think from there on, I sort of like started to understand, hey, like as a student, as an individual, where am I headed in terms of like creating value? creating products, creating things from scratch.
Well, on that topic of value, I know
Mm-hmm.
you're talking a lot about how like the value you're trying to bring
Mm-hmm.
with your content,
Yeah.
but at least one thing that I've realized for me is like
Mm.
content has also given me a lot of value. Like just like posting videos
Yeah.
has been a very nice way to organize my thoughts
Uh-huh.
and then also keep myself accountable to one, like, okay, posting every day almost feels like a kind of like a bit of like a like breathing almost, where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
as long as I do this, like I know I can do almost anything else.
Yeah.
And just staying consistent with that one thing, that's like a value for me.
Uh-huh.
Um, what would you say content has taught you? Like just from making making videos to try and like I guess instill the things you've learned from Produce that people who are also coming new into the school have some like knowledge base.
Uh-huh.
Like has that taught you anything throughout that process?
So I think I'd probably divide my learning into two parts,
Okay.
the qualitative and the quantitative aspects. In terms of the quantitative aspects, I learned a lot about, like, I know this sounds funny, like when a listener is
Hmm.
hearing this, but um, when you see the numbers on your Instagram, you start to get like a mental pattern analysis. And
Hmm.
although I can't like explain it to someone who hasn't created videos,
Yeah.
you kind of get like a sort of understanding of like curves, numbers, when someone starts to look at things differently.
Okay.
And I think that translates into the qualitative aspect of it, where you start to understand humans a lot better. You start to understand why someone wants to do something,
Yeah.
how they want to do things, or like what they are looking for, what their incentive is, what you provide them. And I think like content in general, it introduced me to lovely people. A lot of my lovely friends are through content,
Yeah.
and like it opened an avenue of different ways to make friends, to also interact with people I would not otherwise know. But beyond that, it gave me a certain level of intuitive understanding on humans much more deeply than I had before content.
I
So
definitely resonate with that. Yeah.
yeah, so like you start to understand exactly why something did well when you start to reason why a video did well, how you could repeat this if a certain thing was better than another way of doing it.
Hmm.
When you start to do multiple iterations, you come to a point where when you post five different iterations of the same thing, you start to understand exactly why someone wants to know what they want to know.
Yeah.
So I think that was very valuable to me. Although like I haven't seen the direct results of this, I think understanding human intuition and in general understanding human psychology is a very important part of humanity in general. But also it kind of shows you, it gives you a more clearer picture to who your audience is, who your consumer is. If you're getting into startups, it tells you who your ideal customer is and how to manage the expectation between that. And I think that is a niche point that has, you know, built itself into my world because of content.
That makes sense. I think also for me, like it's really improved my speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I still do say some filler words here and there, but I think it's easier for me to just, okay, if I have a thought or something that
Mm-hmm.
is in my mind that I really want to share with people,
Yeah.
just having that rep of, okay, let me go make a video about this and immediately
Yeah.
trying to put that thought into words
Yes.
and just trying to do it off the rip
Correct.
is so useful.
I agree. To be okay, I was just thinking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
I posted a video about how one of the concepts in my Python for data science class was kind of applicable to human psychology and determination.
Okay.
And that video was something that I had cooked up in my brain. And the point of like finding out exactly how I can relate things, the research side of my brain sort of clicked when I saw that relationship. And to me, taking that thought from like a baby thought, a very forgettable thought,
Mhm.
to a video that made sense to someone else, that was like a very fulfilling process for me.
Yeah.
To being able to explain what I was thinking to someone else, I think that is a skill that I have built thanks to content. And that's helped me kind of drill in confidence into myself that whatever I'm saying verbally, I'm thinking first and I'm sort of collating first to match the expectation of who I'm speaking to. So I
And
think
also what you want to say.
exactly.
Yeah.
And like that reflects a certain level of, a mouth and ear connection
Yeah.
that I think I have genuinely enjoyed developing in the
Yeah.
last year.
And on that point, like a lot of the people watching are probably also curious how you're able to build your platform to like 23,000 followers.
Mhm.
What would you say was like one of the biggest skills that you gained that allowed for you to now really get people's attention and then get this
Mhm.
level of following?
Honestly, it would be wrong to hide the fact that I was deeply addicted to Instagram.
Hmm.
I think I was on a second level also addicted to the numbers game.
Yeah.
So for me, I think understanding the patterns of that was very important to proving to myself that I could do this as well.
No.
After like this whole winning streak through my childhood, if I came to college and was not able to help provide value to people and reach as many people as possible in providing this value, I think I would have felt like a failure.
Yeah.
And for me, that was a very big pricky point. So then every time I tried to optimize what I was saying, how I was saying it, like all of the different factors that play into someone wanting to listen to you, I think the optimization factor was a very important skill that I learned out of it. And I also feel like providing value was something that I realized helped me grow much faster than I was growing when I started out. Because,
Interesting. Actually, one of the points that you brought up kind of ties to like everything that we've been talking about so
uh,
far. Um, that idea of like, okay, I've been winning for most of my life,
mhm,
and like I don't want to lose, so I need to do well at this.
yeah,
That like insecurity, or not even insecurity, like, or I have a similar sort of view in my eyes,
uh-huh,
and where it's like, okay, if I'm not able to do this,
mhm,
like you've lost.
yeah,
And like it almost, at least for me, it's an insecurity. I don't know how you view it,
yeah.
but would you say like, or actually, yeah, I mean, would you say like insecurity is something that fuels you, or do you not even view it as that?
Okay, I will say I had a lot of insecurity growing up.
Yeah, same
Um,
here.
yeah, I think
So same with anybody else watching this. They're lying if they didn't have that.
I think all of us have different kinds of insecurities. I think the fun of the process of growing up is dealing with each of those insecurities
Yeah.
and proving to yourself that you are bigger than those insecurities.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
I will say a very deep insecurity for me right now is that I don't have a friend group. Like I have the individual friends, but I don't have a friend group.
Same here.
And like that is a funny insecurity to have, specifically as someone who has 23,000 followers.
Yeah.
But like I really believe that all of these insecurities teach you different things. Like this is teaching me how to be a little more independent, a little more self-reliant, a little more self-reassuring.
Hmm.
I don't need a group of people to convince me on things or to agree with me on things, on everything that I have like doubts on.
Yeah.
So I think each of these insecurities helps you. Growing up, I had a lot of insecurities on like how I looked, or how I was approaching things.
Hmm.
And I think I will agree. I hope, actually I genuinely hope that I don't lose insecurities, because
Wow.
if I do lose my insecurities, I might not have anything to work towards in life, which is going to be very depressing.
See, I actually totally agree with that. Like,
Yeah,
I think some people look down on the fact that like insecurity can be a form of fuel, but in reality, like why is that a bad thing? Like, okay, if you
yeah,
feel like something should be changed in your life and you want to do everything in your power to change that specific thing. For me, I felt like my life didn't have much of like a driving purpose when I before I started making content. And I was like, okay, I've made faceless videos before. I used to make faceless badminton content.
uh-huh.
For those of you that don't know.
And it's
And
it's awesome content. I will say I love those videos.
and
Yeah.
then I was like, okay, I kind of enjoyed doing this, and I want to share the things that I've learned in my lifetime with other people who have dealt with the same issues.
Mhm.
So why don't I just go and do this and like try and find that purpose that I feel like I'm missing?
Yeah.
And that like now it's like, okay, the reason I go and post every day is not even just because like, oh, I want these people to see me. I mean, there obviously there's a level of that, but I definitely think it's on the back burner for me. The
Yeah.
main thing is this has given me the purpose I was looking for.
Yeah.
If I stop,
Yeah.
I will lose that. And I've spent a really long time looking for it. So I really resonate with that. I think
Yeah.
you kind of need a level of insecurity to
Yeah.
keep you going.
I think yes, insecurity, but also you need a certain level of arrogance alongside
Oh,
insecurity.
yeah, definitely.
Because you might have
And it goes back to the whole delusion thing we talked about.
exactly,
Yeah.
and I think delusion is honestly a mix between insane level of like insecurity and a insane level of arrogance.
Yeah.
In my opinion, just about anyone who's done anything that is memorable to this world has had both. And I
Yeah.
see no reason for anybody in this planet not to have both.
Yeah.
Like I see no reason to not be arrogant. I think everybody should be arrogant in some way or form.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that you should rub it into people's faces.
But yeah, you have to think you're the shit to a certain extent.
Yes, you are the goat. That
Yeah.
is literally just it.
Yeah.
And I think that is a very important aspect of doing anything. Even Elon Musk needed to have guts before he could build a rocket. I mean, who in this world can say otherwise? You need to have that level of audacity, that level of arrogance to say, I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to do it. The world is going to figure out how it's going to happen.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I actually watched something recently. I think it was a podcast with like Eric Jorgensen,
Yeah.
who like wrote a book about Elon and the way he thinks.
Oh,
And yeah,
yes,
it's
yes,
a
I saw
very
this.
I still haven't read it, but he just talks about it. I think he's talking with Chris Williamson, and he mentions how Elon one day is like he's just like, okay, I want to go and do this. And he goes and like tells someone about it, and they're like, what are you like crazy or something? And he just leaves. He's just like, okay, like let me find people that actually believe in this idea.
Correct.
And then just like, I don't even know if he processed the like people that thought he couldn't do it. It just seemed like he was so urgent to like try and get to that goal
Yeah.
that like
Any no's were
he just went and did it.
absolutely deleted from the list. I think I
Yeah.
agree. I think that's the best way to go about things. If someone says no to me, I just forget that they said anything at all.
And then yeah, just going about it. Yeah, yeah. I think I've even for me, like I've gotten plenty of people tell me like, there's a million podcasts out there. Why is yours gonna win? It's just like I'll figure that out, but like if you don't think it will, and I'll see
Good
you later.
riddance.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
riddance, genuinely. I had this one hater, and the most intense hater. This is someone I knew, by the way.
Oh wow.
But when my reel blew up and it
Uh-huh.
got 700,000 views,
Yeah.
this one person just went ham on my private chat and just wanted to insult everything in me when I had asked for zero advice. And I repeatedly mentioned this to him. But he continued wanting to make me feel bad about creating videos and helping people. So I just blocked him.
Valid.
La-
Probably should have done that before you replied.
okay. Last week he wrote back to me and he mentioned that he was being a bully and he regrets it. But I think even if he hadn't, I think I would have plainly ignored him
Yeah,
because I literally did that for the last like 8 months. I
yeah,
plainly ignored him and then just did whatever I wanted to do because he was not living my life. He couldn't do anything that I was able to do.
yeah.
He couldn't do it even if he tried. Maybe he could, but I'm just gonna believe he couldn't do it if he tried. So I mean, why would I listen to him?
That's very valid. That's very valid. And I mean, last thing, like with the stuff you've done with content, with all the research, with all the things you've done in sports,
Hmm.
like what would you say is like next in terms of, okay, this is where I want to take the work I'm doing at Purdue and the work I'm doing with content now
Hmm.
to like take with me for the rest of college? Like what's that next step that you'd like to take within all
Yeah.
of these different things?
So, had you asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would not have a solid answer for you.
Uh-huh.
But I have thought about this a lot. The last semester, I built 12 projects.
Wow.
And I,
Oh, is that part of like the LinkedIn series that you,
yes.
yes. Okay,
So,
okay.
I started a 88-day challenge
Yeah.
where I had to build one project per week.
Okay.
So, that was 12 weeks. I spent an average of 7.4 days per project. And
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that I was trying as much as I possibly could before I locked in on exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
This semester was properly dedicated to just that because last semester I went for my co-op to Delta Airlines.
Mhm.
I was done with my first year, and the first semester of my second year, I decided that I wanted to go intern at Delta. So while I was there, I kind of understood that I didn't really know exactly what I liked. And I was just about guessing exactly what I wanted to do with my future. But I think my entire life has taught me that I like being in control. although I allow the universe to do whatever it does,
I mean, there's no other choice. Yeah.
yes, you can barely predict, and I don't think I want to be that person that forces stuff down my own throat.
Yeah.
So my whole goal for this semester was just to try max. I just
Valid.
wanted to try as much as I possibly could. I wanted to see all of the labs at Purdue, try all different materials. So I made like wood carvings and acrylic stuff, and I made like a speaker from scratch.
And would you say you've like achieved that goal of I want to try Max this semester?
I fully Trimax this semester. I am very
Nice.
proud of my Trimaxing. I made my first agent, I made my first app, I made my first website. I made 2 websites, and one of my websites has 500 users now in 10 days.
Damn.
And I have come to a stage where I've understood exactly what I like working with. And I'm sure that life will surprise me in beautiful ways,
Mhm.
in tough ways, on like what I don't know and what I need to get better on.
Mhm.
But I have come to an understanding that I really enjoy doing hardware. I like seeing the product of my work in front of me. And I enjoy working on physical things. It brings me into a certain level of flow state, which I fully enjoy.
Yeah.
So I've come to a point where irrespective of what AI does to the world, I want to be working on hardware.
Well, it seems like I'm sure, yeah, irrespective, but it seems like that's where AI is moving towards.
I think
Like,
here's the thing, right? Like I've come to realize that the more you chase what something is moving towards,
oh,
the less likely you're actually going to get good at whatever you get good at. And at the end of the day, specialists are going to get paid in every field possible.
Of course. Yeah.
If you like what you're doing, you're going to do more of it. The more you do it, you're going to get better at it. The better you get at it, the
More you
more
get
people will
paid.
want you,
And that too.
right?
Yeah.
The more value you can provide to the world
Yeah.
with whatever you're doing. So I took the time, and to be fair, like AI agents are all out there. But do I want to be building AI agents today? No. I could get paid a lump sum amount of money right now if I can build good AI agents. But do I want to do that? No. And I came to that understanding only after Trimaxing for a solid 1 semester with 12 projects, which I have now put on my personal website also. But either way, I have come to a point where I've understood that hardware is something that I get excited by, because
Yeah.
I'm just so interested by how many different things go into building multiple things that you think from scratch on. Building a speaker from scratch, building a robot arm from scratch, like all of those things showed me exactly why I wanted to be at Purdue, be among all of these labs.
Mhm.
So I think all of the content that I move towards is probably going to move towards a little bit of documenting hardware stuff, seeing the startups that are creating new innovative technology, like moving my content towards the future. What am I excited about, and what is the world moving towards? How are we creating value for other human beings? And how are we bringing all of this together to build a future that all of us can enjoy?
See, I asked you in the beginning, like,
Yeah.
okay, what is your definition of like excellence?
Yeah.
And like in my eyes, like that is what I see. Is like the reason I
Yeah.
ask you is because it's a question that I've been thinking about
Hmm.
for a long time. Like or like a long time meaning like the past week before I go to bed.
Yeah.
Just because it's something that I want to embody in my life. And I think part of that is figuring out what you want to do
Yeah.
or like what you find interesting and then chasing it with like an unrelenting passion.
Yes.
And I think like even though that's definitely not the conventional definition of excellence, I think everyone has their own definition.
Yeah.
And I think living it to that definition is like or at least in my eyes, should be one's goal in life.
Correct.
So all that to say, I really think that's a good way of going about
Yeah.
taking this semester. And it sounds like you met the goal.
Mhm.
One thing that I think, I guess I'd also want to hear, but I think could be useful to anyone watching is like,
Yeah.
what would be your advice to people that are also like, I don't really know what I want to spend my life doing.
Mhm.
How do I go and try Max properly? Like, what would be your advice?
Okay. I was literally in this position exactly 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So this is pretty recent, and it took me a while to figure this out. So I will share the cheat code. Plan only 2 projects that you are fascinated by and you would use on a daily basis. Something that you would use. One of my first projects was making my speaker,
Mhm.
because I had broken a speaker and I wanted to fix it.
Okay.
And I fully broke the speaker while trying to fix it. So my only other option was to create a new speaker from scratch.
Works.
So I went to the labs, I got my free components, I met all of the people in the labs. They taught me so much more than any class had taught me.
Mhm.
I found out all of the different resources at Purdue that I could leverage to build things because people want value in the world. So they are willing to help you. And universities like this are willing to put their resources behind you. You just need to want to get it and want to have that outcome. My second project was building a robot hand that could help me switch off my light because I did not want to get up from my bed after I, finish reading. Like, it was literally that simple. And like I went from there. I was like, hey, like, what am I next interested by?
Yeah.
What can I find that I can fix, or what can I try that I would enjoy? My last thing was building a website for cheat sheets at Purdue because I saw
I've been seeing
students.
those. I've been seeing those. Yeah.
I saw students like struggle to find cheat sheets. 500 people are using it in 10 days. That's insane, right? Like,
Yeah.
there are hourly 26 users. And like, what can you say to that? Like, you only had I not built two other websites before this, I would have no idea how to build this website.
Yeah.
But I would also have no clue what I would want to build if I didn't actually intentionally think, what do people want? How do I address the stuff that people want? How do I create value in this world? What am I doing here? So the more you ask what you're doing here, create things for yourself, and just start with two projects and like go on from there in terms of like where your curiosity takes you. I would say if it were my way, I would probably spend, you know, more weeks trying to understand exactly, like exploring other parts. How does
Yeah. I mean, there's no one stopping you from doing that too.
right? Nobody is, but like I think I've come to a clearer understanding of like where I want to move, what are my strengths, what do I feel the flow state in. The most important understanding of all of this was, how do I feel when I'm doing the things that I'm doing? Do I feel happy doing it? Do I feel like I'm doing it easily? Is this aligned with the strengths I've had? I loved painting as a kid. So it was funny to me that even like soldering and like planning out the PCB components, building a PCB, I built my first PCB also this semester and I manufactured my first own PCB.
Hmm.
And that was insane to me. And that was so close to painting, which I would have never guessed. But now I know that I
That's
like.
very. That's very. Or like not even. Just like, what the hell?
Right?
Yeah.
You don't really know until you like try. But like I remember how much I used to love painting as a kid. And for me, I keep looking at
And
the
a
strengths.
PCB is so much.
Right? I wouldn't have guessed. I
Yeah.
promise I had no idea.
Okay.
But like looking back at my childhood and understanding what strengths I had then,
Yeah.
what I enjoyed thoroughly, like in my most pure form then, and connecting it to all of the things that I was doing and or like was trying to do, I think that kind of gave me a lot more clarity on what I wanted from my life. So now when I go back to my courses next semester, I'm going to know exactly what I want to learn, why this is important to learn, why I should be learning it, how, this applies to my life or anything, in the future that I do. I think that really gives me a certain level of joy in learning, in understanding, in applying. And that's, I think, a very big part of like try, create, build.
Yeah. Create, build, try. That's
Yeah.
name of the whole thing here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, yeah, I mean, wow. Wow. There's a lot to process there, and I really have to thank you for your time. That
Mhm.
was like that was great. Yeah, like definitely think that there's a lot to take away and a lot of things with like not just your story, but also like even when you were in I guess like where okay, things have now settled in. You're feeling good at Purdue. Now
Mhm.
you go take something, go do this something new.
Yeah.
And it's like okay, now okay, content makes sense. Okay, let's go try and build 12 different things and see
Mhm.
what works. And I think there's a lot of inspiration to take from that in terms of like just continuously learning, continuously trying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, thank you so much for your time and
Thank you, Vish.
yeah, I'll see you guys next week.